Hey guys, welcome. I'm Guy Haberman here live on YouTube. It is Thursday morning, or it's not if you're watching this later or listening to this on the podcast feed. 5-star review on podcast. Leave a question for the mailbag. We'll be getting back to that soon. You do it by leaving a review on Apple Podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that very much. Coming up on the show today, why the 49ers should not draft a quarterback. The NFLPA rankings, there's a pattern that nobody has noticed, and a little college football because I love college football. But first, woke up today and read Mike Silver, guest of the show, in the San Francisco Chronicle. Silver had a few different little nuggets from Indianapolis. I'm going to read these out of order for effect, and then get to a couple of the topics that he writes about. But let's start with this from Silver, who wrote, you can bet that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are scheming. Tough decisions may be coming, possibly involving productive veterans who've played a big role in the franchise's recent run of success. Now, what he's not writing is that the Niners need to cut salary in order to stay under the cap. We know that with the cap being at $255 million this year, and a team with a very good record historically of finesse, that's not what we're talking about here. So what are we talking about here? Let's go on. He writes, Trent Williams, George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, Deebo Samuel, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave should be a part of any effort to run it back. However, or to quote Stephen A. Smith, however, Shannon and Lynch need to be honest about what the film showed. Sometimes elite football players fall off quickly and precipitously. If the coach and the GM believe that applies to any of these players or younger stars like Deebo, McCaffrey, Dre Greenlaw, they should act accordingly and try to find someone better. This is the quote that's I put in the headline of the video today, and it's definitely the one that's getting the most attention. He writes, according to organization sources, many tough conversations are already being contemplated. What does that mean? Does that mean tough conversations among each other? I interpret it as tough conversations with players. They're contemplating saying to guys, will you restructure, take less money? Will you take less money? You're going to get cut if you don't take less money, if you don't help us out here, and move some money around, right? Now, generally, when you look through a lot of the contracts the 49ers have for these players, there is money to be saved, but it's still going to cost a lot of money to save money. So when I hear this, I don't think cutting. I think, you could be cutting, but I think you're asking players to do some things they don't want to do. Tough conversations are being contemplated. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan don't need to contemplate tough conversations with each other. They need to contemplate tough conversations with Eric Armstead, team leaders, right? Guys that have been productive for them, guys that make a lot of money. I would imagine any conversation with Trent Williams is a tough conversation. And George Kittle, these are tough conversations. So that's what that means. But he also turns a leaf when he says, sure, there may be tough cap-related decisions to make in 2025, but they'll figure those out in 2025. That means, in theory, that the Niners can keep the band together and find a way to satisfy second-team All-Pro Brandon Ayuk, who is headed into the final year of his rookie deal, due $14 million, and may choose not to report and or request a trade if the Niners don't sign him to a lucrative extension. Now, if you've been watching or listening recently, that my prediction on this has been that he's going to play out this year. That's what they're going to want to do, have him play out this year. That could certainly qualify as a tough conversation being contemplated, telling Brandon Ayuk, we're not going to trade you and we're not going to extend you. So in other words, there's going to be no resolution here for you. We want you to play this year on the fifth-year option. I mean, this definitely falls in the tough conversation category. We're not going to do the thing you want. We're not going to do either of the things you want. You would be happy with a trade or an extension. We're not going to do either one of those things. We're going to do the third option, which is have you play on the fifth-year option. And then look, next year, we'll take care of you, man. And Brandon's like, yeah, if I'm healthy, maybe. If we have a good year, I mean, we should have a good year, but maybe, right? There's no guarantees. The only guarantees are guarantees in writing, and that would not be a guarantee in writing. But I think the first part of this is, to me, really what stands out in this article. They have tough cap-related decisions to make in 2025, but they'll make those in 2025. I know a lot of people have said pay Ayuk now so that you reduce his $14 million number now. I've said that I see it the other way, which is you delay when you pay him. So then you delay now all of a sudden in 2025 is when his cap hit is low. 2026, it's a little lower. 2027 is when it gets bigger. So you're just pushing back when Ayuk's contract gets big. I think that is the benefit of not paying him yet. And then Silver writes this: there may also be some exciting surprises in terms of player acquisition. A year ago, no one believed the 49ers would be a major player in free agency. Then, on the day of the legal tampering period preceding the start of the league year, which, by the way, so you know, we're about a week and a half away from that for this year. That's March 11th. March 11th is a week from this coming Monday, so we're very close to free agency. But he says at the start of the league year, the Niners agreed to a 4-year, $84 million deal with Javon Hargrave, one of the top free agents on the market. So all of this collectively to me says not that the Niners are going to need to make some hard decisions about vets making a lot of money because they need to shave salary to get under the cap. What Mike Silver is saying, I believe, is the Niners want to find ways to shave money based on lack of production so that they can then turn around and spend money. This is not saving because you need to save. This is saving because you want to spend. Those are two different things. And I think that's a promising thing, right? They're going to find ways to get more good players, and they're not going to just rely on the draft to do it. Now, that could be Azeez Al-Shire. Could that be even bigger? I don't know. We'll see. But, remember, this is the guy that's been right a lot about the 49ers. He was very right, way ahead of most people publicly, right? Who put their, it's one thing for us on YouTube or on a podcast to say, hey, I think that Trey Lance is going to be gone. I still, even in 2024, I still think it has a different power for the people who put it in print, because now you are reporting it in a way. And that's very different than I'm just saying, right? Even if you write it as I'm just saying, there's still a slightly different pressure, I think, there. You don't get to talk it out and explain yourself for 30 minutes. So especially with the quote unquote old school journalism folks, I think they write that. They feel a certain onus when they write that type of thing. And I think Silver feels an onus when he writes. He's not just you and me out here chatting on YouTube going, oh, maybe this or maybe that. Now, if I'm telling you something I think is really going to happen based on things, then I'll say it. But, I think you got to take this with some understanding that this is the way the organization is thinking about it, that they are looking at 2024 as kind of an all-in. Now, I know if you listen to the podcast I did with Ethan Strauss last week, he and I talked about whether or not it's a last dance type year or not. And we both agreed it's not, because as long as you have a young quarterback, it's not. You could view it, though. What Silver's basically writing is this is the window right here. And then, now he didn't say this, but what I think is, okay, that's actually fair. This is the window. The hardest decisions will come next offseason, not this offseason, right? Where you're thinking, maybe now are you extending Purdy early? Are you waiting? Are you cutting or trading Deebo Samuel and saving a ton of money post June 1, 2025? Because you can do that. And then a new window opens because your quarterback, if your quarterback has the year in 2024, 2025 that he just had in 2023, 2024, then your window is blossoming, opening up. And that's that. So that's how I take it. That is the news of the day. I think other people will maybe take it differently, but that's how I take it. I think some people might take it as people are getting cut. I don't think that. Not based on what he says. You read this again. Trent, Kittle, Juice, Deebo, Armstead, Hargrave should be a part of any effort to run it back. However, Shanahan and Lynch need to be honest about what the film showed. Sometimes elite players fall off quickly and precipitously. Interesting. There's more here. What I read between the lines is the hard conversations are with players, and they want to have those hard conversations so they can spend money in free agency. I don't think this is another way to interpret it. This just occurred to me. I don't think it's save money now to pay Ayuk now. I think it's save money now, keep Ayuk on that number, $14 million, and then spend that money elsewhere. Gigala says, if you look at their track history, they restructured, not cut. If not that, I can see trade. But yeah, I mean, I think trade is a distant third here, right? If you're going to trade guys, then people are taking on their money. And I think that's, the Niners have players that are very useful for them, but they're very expensive. And they're more useful to the 49ers than I think they are to other teams. Regular Ryan says, can the hard conversations be Shanahan to stop blowing it every big game? The roster can be the most elite roster ever assembled, and Shanahan will bungle it. No, I don't think that's the tough decisions. I think that's more the YouTube comments than it is the tough decisions between those guys. So that's what Silver wrote today. You can go read the full thing in the Chronicle. I thought, as always, there were hints in there, and that's how I interpreted Silver's hints. The NFL Draft Combine field work begins today. The quarterbacks don't go until Saturday, and even then, some of the best quarterbacks in the draft are not going to throw. But if you're looking at it from a 49ers perspective, you don't care about those guys. The guys you care about are the guys that are going to show up with an effort to try and do something. And the question is, should the 49ers draft a quarterback to replace their third quarterback? I think it's safe to assume that, my expectation that Sam Darnold will be gone, and then you want Brandon Allen to be back as your backup quarterback, and you need a third quarterback. And I was talking to Larry Krueger about it yesterday. He was adamant that the 49ers, he had a list of guys that they should draft. And I told him I hate all of his ideas. I don't think the 49ers should draft a quarterback. What I said when I went back and watched that conversation was I said they should not bring in a rookie quarterback in that quarterback room. And as I thought about it, I don't agree with that statement either by me yesterday. My official statement on this subject is they should not draft a quarterback. If they want to sign a rookie quarterback to be their third quarterback, by all means, go for it. Super cheap. Don't worry about the guy. Either the cream rises or he doesn't, and that's another problem for another day. The 49ers Shanahan-Lynch era drafting has yielded 3 quarterbacks in 7 years: C.J. Beathard, Trey Lance, and Brock Purdy. So, I don't think they are looking to draft a quarterback necessarily, but my logic for it, 2 reasons that I would not draft a quarterback if I were the Niners. Number one, it's just pure volume. Like, this is a team that needs to reload. They need to add depth. They need to, I don't want to say correct some of the misses from the last few years, but continue to throw volume at their depth problem. The best way to add depth in the draft is volume. And the 49ers have 11 picks. We'll see if they use a couple of those to move up in the first round or in the second round. You're not going to draft a quarterback there. If they were going to draft a quarterback, it would come later in the draft. And they've done a good job later in the draft finding depth. Braden Willis. Now, Braden Willis got a lot of attention in the Super Bowl for having the hold on the play that George Kittle was out. Braden Willis, a 7th-round pick who played in the Super Bowl. When you just say that, a 7th-round rookie who played in the Super Bowl, I'd say you gave yourself solid depth. Now, you could argue the counter, which is they had no depth, and that's why he was there. Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell played in some big games for the 49ers this year. 7th-round pick. Okay. 5th-round pick, 4th-round pick, Spencer Burford. Diamador Lenore in the 5th. Elijah Mitchell in the 6th. We all know this stuff. Charlie Warner. Colton McKivitz was in the 5th. Warner's the 6th. Juwan Jennings the 7th. These are areas where people want you to draft quarterbacks this year. My reason number one is I would not draft a quarterback because you need these picks to try and hit. You need volume at all these other positions, and I would not use a spot there when you don't need that now. Ron Wolf, the Packers historically would tell you, you draft quarterback. That's when you draft quarterbacks, is when you don't need them. But I think they have shown that they can get instant impact or semi-instant impact from late round guys I would forego a quarterback this year in the draft. They've mostly done it anyway. If you want to sign a guy, fine. The other reason is, and I know a lot of the names that are coming up, and two that came up yesterday with Larry are Joe Milton from Tennessee and Spencer Rattler from South Carolina. Now, Rattler was the guy. He was once the flavor of the month quarterback prospect. Big deal. Okay. And he went to Oklahoma. Huge deal. And then became an even bigger deal because Caleb Williams replaced him. Caleb replaced Spencer Rattler in the first big Caleb moment of his career. And I would shy away, especially in the draft, but even in free agency. I would not be particularly interested in guys that are center of attention type quarterbacks historically in their careers. I would look for a guy that in zero way, shape, or form, and I don't think Brock is in any way threatened, but it's for the first time in his career, fully, it's Brock Purdy's quarterback room, right? Last year, it was going to be that. We knew that, but he was coming off an injury. He was not getting all of the reps initially. So there was a period of time where he just, wasn't playing much at all. And it was about Sam Darnold and Trey Lance, even though we understood it would eventually become about Brock. The year before, it was definitely not about him at all. So this is the first time it's his room. I would not introduce anybody into that room who thinks they should have or just gets, even if they don't think it, any sort of real attention. And big-time quarterback, quote-unquote, prospects would fall into that category. And because I'm not going to draft any of those guys, those talented guys usually don't go undrafted, then, it's a double whammy reason not to draft them. Get somebody unsigned. It doesn't have to be a rookie. I'd be all for a second-year guy or a third-year guy or a fourth-year guy. I'd actually rather have experience in that room than another rookie in there. The rookie would just be the cheapest. But if you wanted to get, Jake Browning's not going to do it. But, some guy like that who hasn't proven it yet, but is good with the quarterback, somebody who understands their role, I think there's a real value in that. It's why I don't totally disagree with what I said yesterday, which is don't even get a rookie in there. What I meant to say yesterday was just don't draft a guy. But I want a guy that can be another set of eyes for Brock. Brandon Allen can 1,000% be that, right? Brandon Allen understands. He was on the show a few weeks ago before the Super Bowl. Go listen to it. Really sharp guy. Understands the role, gets what his job is, knows how to prepare for a Kyle Shanahan team, right? If you get a rookie quarterback in there that's not ready for it, that's not another Brock Purdy, and those guys are really hard to find, then what you're getting is a quarterback who doesn't quite yet know what it means to prepare for a Kyle Shanahan game, which means these guys put in a ton of work the week of a game, learning the game plan, understanding everything they're going to be asked to do this week. So I would stay away from rookie quarterbacks. Now, Adam Peters, to continue this, Adam Peters was asked a couple days ago, the former 49ers front office exec, now running player personnel for the Washington Commanders, for the football team. And he was asked a couple of things. Let me see if I got these in the right order here.
The answer.
Yeah, so two things from Adam Peters here. Question about finding quarterbacks, because this week and especially Saturday, Brock Purdy's name is going to get brought up, okay? It's been brought up for a year when it comes to the draft, and Saturday when the quarterbacks are throwing, and there's some short white guy out there who played 4 years of college football, they're going to be like, man, are teams changing the way they draft quarterbacks? No. I've told you for a while, this is one of my soapboxes. This conversation is so stupid. I promise you. Brock Purdy could go on to a Hall of Fame career. The conversation about whether or not Brock Purdy changes the way that we draft quarterbacks in the NFL will be dead within 3 years, okay? And Brock could be the 5-time MVP starting next year. He could win 5 in a row. He'd be like Wayne Gretzky, win like 7 in a row. Actually, Wayne won them from his rookie year on. I think it was like 7 or 9. It was something crazy. I saw an Instagram reel about it the other day. But Brock could win 5 MVPs in a row starting now. And this conversation about whether or not he changes the way the league drafts quarterback is going to be DEE dead, because DED dead is what I meant to say. Because I know it's not how it's spelled. Because it's such a crapshoot. Listen to Adam Peters. talking about finding quarterbacks.
If I knew that answer, I would be somewhere else, probably retired. I think that the gist of it is it's people evaluating people, and especially when it comes to that position, there's so much more that goes into it besides the tape. You know, if you're evaluating a defensive end, you know, I think we all can see what Nick Bosa or Myles Garrett looks like, and the quarterback, there's so much nuance that goes into it besides the talent and the skill set and the arm strength and all that. So with really quarterback or any position, it's people evaluating people. So you're gonna make mistakes, and it's a matter of if you have a better hit rate. Really, that's the draft, is to try to hit on as many as you can. And the more hits you have, whether it's the first round pick or the 7th round pick or anywhere in between, that's how you build your team.
It's people evaluating people. So people are hard to evaluate. When you have other people evaluate people, you're even going to make more mistakes. He's not pretending like they found, dude, the stuff we got out of drafting Brock, look out. I'm about to get my Pro Bowler in the 5th round. Here's what he said specifically about Brock.
He's always composed. He was always like he is now. He's the same guy every day. And really, his tape was what really turned us on, and then you meet the person. But this is only just a little bit part of the process, but his tape and everything that he did at Iowa State and how well he played and how well he played the position, we really thought that he could really fit in well with our scheme. And if we thought he was that good, we probably wouldn't have waited till the last pick. But no, we liked him that much, and now I got to find a new quarterback.
Yeah, he's 100% right? The whole we had a 4th round grade on him, which, you know, I mean, in a sense, I believe, but at the same time, Adam's right. Like, if you had any sense that he was going to be the guy that he became, you would have been like, guys, we got to jump on this guy in case somebody accidentally hits a button trying to draft Blaine Jones and hits Brock Purdy and they put in the wrong pick. Like, we just have to draft this guy, right? We got to go get him right now before somebody else screws up. Like, no, we got to get Tariq Castro Fields, even though we like Brock way more. Let's get Tariq. Brock. So he's right, but I just listened to these 2 clips from Adam Peters. These guys, there's no science here. There's nothing to be learned. No, let's draft really, you know what? Here's the new news. Let's draft really productive guys. Oh, yeah. Cool. There's a amazing thought. What was I'm just trying to think real quick. The Bill, I meant to look this up. The Bill Parcells rule on drafting quarterbacks, which, you know, is old. Nobody uses it anymore. Here were Bill Parcells. All right. Here were Bill Parcells' rules for drafting a quarterback. And these were not fail-safe rules as the list of guys that he drafted shall show. His rules were seniors, no underclassmen, has to have graduated, 3-year starter, 23 collegiate wins as a starter. All right. So when people are like, you know, maybe with Brock, it's going to be about, we got to start drafting college production. Yeah. Okay. Well, Bill Parcells did that already. His hit rate, let's take a look at the quarterbacks Bill Parcells drafted. Jeff Hostetler, I mean, he's a pro. Dave Walter, Mike Perez, Craig Cup, Drew Bledsoe, hit, Jay Walker, and Chuck Clements. Hey, some of these guys are, but it's not some fail-safe, you know. Jeff Hostetler, good player. I said good player. Yeah. Great one says won a Super Bowl. This has been out there for a long time. If this was the foolproof plan, people would have been using it. But it's not. There isn't one. It's people evaluating people. Parcells a football genius. This guy's a football genius. I'm not here to besmirch Bill Parcells. Absolute genius. Brock Purdy's an exception to the rule. When you're an exception to the rule, there is no rule. There's no new rule that you create. If everyone tries to draft exceptions, guess what? They're not exceptions anymore. So let's watch. Let's watch this draft. Let's see. Our guys, is this going to be a draft where here would be one? Here would be one. I'm drafting just off 3-cone drills. I need a guy that started 3 years and is good in the 3-cone, right? Okay. Let's do that. The analogy I used recently with Sherwood Strauss, I've used this a few times, or Ethan Strauss. Yeah, I've told John this too, is like Draymond was an exception. For 3 years, people were like, let's draft some Draymonds. And then you realize, he's an exception. And I think the same is going to be ultimately the case with Brock. So it doesn't mean you don't keep striving, let's find new solutions here. But as productive as Brock was, as sharp as Brock is, as tough as Brock is, these are all things you're already drafting for smart and tough and productive. And teams think they can find the smart, tough, productive guy that's 3 inches taller with a stronger arm. They're going to draft that guy first. But let's see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the league will be littered with little Brock Purdy's running around in 5 years. Half the league will be just Brock Purdy's. And, the Bo Nixes, the big, strong guys, the athletic guys, they'll start getting drafted in the 4th round. Okay. I'll believe that one when I see it. The other big piece of news this week, other than the combine, was the NFLPA and their report cards. People vary into the NFLPA report cards. And, I think the thing that gets the most attention is like owner rankings, coach rankings. But I think there's a little pattern in here that people are missing. Listen, the players gave out 19 A grades for head coach. Over half of the league, the players gave an A grade to their coach. Okay. Weirdly enough, Matt LaFleur got a B+ grade. Cleveland Browns, their coach was the coach of the year, got a B- grade. So, first of all, not all of this is, well, I won't go off on a tangent. Here's the pattern. Here are where the fewest, 19 A grades, 10 A's for owners, 19 for coaches. Some of the lowest A grades. So the fewest number of teams that got an A grade. Food and cafeteria, only 4 teams got an A grade for food and cafeteria. Treatment of families, only 4 teams got an A grade. Locker rooms, only 6 teams got an A grade. Training rooms, only 3 teams got an A grade. The fewest A grade, travel. 2 A's on travel. So how do you interpret this? All right, some people say, well, the league's got to step up the cafeterias. Other people say, well, the players need to stop complaining. Nobody cares. I interpret this as college spent years and years and years not spending money directly on players, but spending it everywhere else. What do they spend it on? Anything that's a recruiting tool. What's a recruiting tool? Making mom and dad feel good that their son is going to eat right and is going to be safe. He's going to be taken care of. Locker rooms are going to be luxurious. That appeals to players. College football locker rooms are better by wide margins than NFL locker rooms because they're ridiculous. They're built as a way to recruit. College locker rooms are recruiting tools. NFL locker rooms are not. College locker rooms are a place to spend all the money. This is back when everybody was trying to avoid NIL and the incoming employee status of players and pay players. So they went, look at this life we give these players. How could you ask us to pay them when we build these lockers that are just, look at this thing. It dries their helmets and is an Xbox. That's a real thing, by the way. Lockers that dry your helmets and are an Xbox. So all these players come in and all their families come in used to getting incredible facilities because that's what it is in college. That's how you recruit in college. Mom and dad and everybody else in the family get whatever they need. They get taken care of. You come to the game, you're a VIP. You're going to be on the sidelines. We're going to get you great seats. You're going to have access. Post-game, there's going to be a barbecue. You're going to get taken care of. You're going to get post-game. You're going to stand over here away from everybody else. Different story in the pros. So now you've got all these players who come in and are used to the Taj Mahal of cafeterias. Now travel's unique because everyone's flying charter in college already. They're flying charter. You have to. You got so many players. I think travel getting 2 A's from the NFL players is not about what they're used to in college. I think it's what you're used to when you're not traveling with your team. Because when you make $1 million or $10 million or $30 million, you stay at the St. Regis and the Four Seasons. But NFL teams, their travel parties are so huge, unlike NBA teams who stay at the Four Seasons. Even baseball traveling parties, they stay at the St. Regis. That's where most of them stay in San Francisco. They're all, when they come play baseball, they all stay, mostly all of them stay at the St. Regis down on 3rd Street. Football is a different animal. Football, there's too many people. We're at the Holiday Inn. We're at the Marriott. You can still get a solid hotel. These guys travel individually. Vacation time, Cabo. Woo! They go to Maui, go to Maui. You're at the Four Seasons. So I think that's where that one comes from. But the rest of this is just a product of college overspending on stupid stuff, and then guys getting in the league thinking, why don't I have it as good as I had it in college? Get to your comments on Brock Purdy and the draft and the 49ers in just a moment. But one more thing. We're headed towards a 14-team playoff in 2026 in college football. Here's the update. So right now, in the next 2 years, there's going to be a 12-team playoff. This 12-team playoff is going to start. I've been saying this. It's going to start before Thanksgiving. It's going to go through like the NFL, past the NFL regular season and into the NFL wildcard weekend. So like this year, you're going to have college football playoffs starting before Thanksgiving, and it will conclude around NFL's, is it wildcard weekend or the second weekend of the NFL playoffs? So it's going to be big. So it's going to grow in probably 3 years. It'll likely be a 14-team playoff, and that'll mean 3 automatic qualifiers from the Big Ten. It'll mean 3 automatic qualifiers from the SEC. It'll mean 2 automatic qualifiers from the ACC and the Big 12. And the group of 5, don't worry, we haven't forgot about you. You guys get a team in too. And so that's 14 teams. All those numbers I just gave you add up to 11, and then there'll be 3 at-large teams. And it just brings us one step closer to a college football super league. Right now, the Big Ten, even if you follow college football, some of you may not, I know a lot of you do. If you follow college football, even then it's hard to know exactly how many teams are in all the leagues coming up this year. The Big Ten has 18 teams in it this year. Okay, the Big Ten. The SEC has 16. The Big 12 has 16. And the ACC has 17 teams. That adds up to 67 teams. There are many in college football, including some of the major power brokers of college football, that have said that the future of college football is going to be a super league with like 50 teams in it. So everybody that's in the dance right now, that like if you might be an ACC, a Big 12 fan, hell, there's a couple of SEC teams out there that you go, if we were really starting over from scratch and had a tier 1 red rope VIP club, I don't think everybody here would be in this. So whether or not they eventually kick some people out, time will tell. Right now, 67 teams is what it is. And even that, I think, to them feels big. That's what we're going to have for several years now. But, if you go by what the power brokers of college football say, 67 is too big. And you can already see the Big Ten and the SEC in a variety of ways starting to separate themselves. Right? Those 2 leagues right now you're looking at 31, 34 teams between those 2 leagues. Is that number correct? Those of you who watch this show regularly know that me doing live math is a problem. 34. So 34 is where the number is going to start. And then they will add from everybody else to get to like 48 or 50 and maybe less. Maybe it'll be 38. Maybe it'll be 45, whatever the number is. But that's what the future of college football is. All right. Let's get to some takes. People are yelling at each other. How many fork-tail devils is how many teams will the Pac-12 have? Right now there's 2. There's Pac-2. By the way, sometimes you guys ask, which is very nice. Some of you ask, most of you don't, and that's fine. I don't care. But for those that do, you sometimes like, hey, guy, we know you do some play-by-play. When are you going to be on next? What do you got coming up? Well, I'll tell you. 2 games coming up in the next week for your boy. One, I know all of you can watch. This Saturday, I'm doing Cal at Utah. That's on Pac-12 Network, if you get that. Next Thursday, a week from today, next Thursday, huge basketball game. I can't wait. I'm going to Pullman, Washington. Washington at Washington State, the last Apple Cup as league partners. Washington State, for those of you who haven't started following college basketball yet, is fighting to win the Pac-12 right now, although Arizona inched back ahead of them last night. That game's going to be on FS1 next Thursday. So a week from Thursday, FS1, college hoops for me, and then I'm going to the Pac-12 tournament in Vegas after that. All right, there were. I want to go back. See, this is where you need. Robbie says, I would try to keep Darnold, to be honest. He will probably walk for more money, but I think he helped Brock a lot this year. I would love for them to keep Sam Darnold. I would, yeah, I mean, that'd be my number one choice, would be for the 49ers to keep Sam Darnold. I just don't see how. I think he's going to be a little expensive, and it might be in Washington. So I think he's a good player. I think he's an intriguing player. I think he's a sharp player. He physically is talented. In a weird way, those of you who've been, if you're new here, you might take this the wrong way, but I wish we could have seen him a little more this year. Now, in hindsight, that would have meant Brock not playing as well as he did, or Brock getting hurt, and the Niners were better off for neither one of those things happening. But I think that there was some promise there. Great one says, and I think this is a response to somebody else, so I'm not going back and forth through all of it. Tyrod Taylor, I think he's suggesting Tyrod Taylor might be a better option than Darnold. I would be like, Tyrod to me would be a great option for the 49ers. I'd be all in on Tyrod Taylor. You're going to be cheaper than Sam? I don't know. I don't think either one of them is going to be cheap per se. I mean, Tyrod started 5 games this year, went 2-3, was a 64% passer in those 5 games, 5 touchdowns, 3 picks. If your backup quarterback is starting 5 games, you're in a tough spot. I don't hold backup quarterback records against them, and they're like 0-5. What you want out of a backup quarterback is a guy that can win you a game in a tight spot. I thought Sam Darnold would be a guy that could do that. I think Tyrod Taylor has proven in his career he can do it. I mean, Tyrod Taylor has not been a full-time starter in the league. We're coming on. It's going to be like 7 years since he's been a full-time starter. So let's evaluate him as a starter. For 3 straight years, he had a winning record. Okay. As a backup, where it's like, can you stay ready? He's won games every year that he's been a backup quarterback. So, I guess actually 1 year he was not a backup. He was the starter and then got hurt. Well, injured by his own training staff. Hurt and then injured by his training staff. So, I think Tyrod has absolutely proven. That's how I think you got to look at quarterbacks. Backups. Can you win me a game if I need you to win me a game? And Tyrod's on the list. I mean, I haven't done a list of backups because to me, Brandon Allen is he's the natural fit. Somebody asked, is my relationship with Brandon Allen clouding my judgment? First of all, I'm not going to pretend like I got it, but Brandon will talk to me if I go up to him in person, but that's not a relationship. We're not boys, even though he's a smart, sharp guy, but I'd be into it. But look, we know Kyle likes him. We know he fits. My evaluation talked to him. Is he sharp? And he fits. Like, Kyle needs sharp, and Brock needs, I think, a veteran guy around him, and you need a guy that's played an NFL game. So, all for it. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, some Brock Purdy arguments going on. James says, Brock is the starter. Anyone still calling for somebody else? I don't care. That's not a real conversation. I mean, I know he's not talking to me, but I think this is year 3 of the report cards. The Cardinals still charging for food and gym. The Chargers on their report card are charging for daycare, which some people say, hey, that's what it costs in the real world, but most teams don't charge for this. So it's industry standard not to charge. I saw a great comment. Somebody said, if you employed Phillip Rivers and Antonio Cromartie, you would charge for daycare too. The thing about the Chargers is, they pay $1 in rent. So when they watch your kid for an hour or an hour and a half, whatever it was, for $75, they make babysitting one child several X what they pay in annual rent, which is $1. $1. What about Phil Simms? Frank says. Did Parcells draft Phil Simms? The person would be faster on this answer than I. 79. Parcells was not coaching the Giants at 79, so he did not draft him. His rookie year was 79. Ray Perkins drafted him. Belichick was on that staff. So Simms is not a quarterback. The Parcells, going back to the Parcells thing, that Parcells drafted. Kid Icarus says, let's just draft 5 tight ends, have him block like Kittle. He should be getting 90 catches a year. It's funny, man. The conversations about George are funny because we know how he doesn't, we know that he does not rack up as many catches as he would if he never had to block. You go over and look, say what you want, grain of salt. You go over and look at PFF. You know the number one graded tight end this year was by them. It was George Kittle. I think he's still got a lot of good football. I think he got a lot of good football in him still. If anyone knows why, I say DED dead. If anyone knows why, it's like I don't know. I feel like I'm quoting something. I've said it for a long time. DED dead. I'm not sure where it comes from. Question: if the Niners find a better right tackle, what happens to McKivitz? Does he move to right guard or is he depth? Yes. Depth. I mean, rotating with Spencer Burford at right guard then, if you replace the tackle. L'Jarius Sneed, question mark. I mean, would love it. He's getting tagged and, or he got tagged, got tagged. And his agents are being given the right to seek a trade. So you're not pulling off a trade and an extension on L'Jarius Sneed. So no. Frank says swing tackle on McKivitz. No. Steve says, I would take Penix at 31. Brock will get injured next year due to a bad line. Plus, the Niners can let Brock walk next year and start Penix. He would be cheaper. No idea if he's better than Brock Purdy. I am a pro Penix guy. As a college player and as a pro, I have a Heisman vote. I voted for Michael Penix for Heisman this year, not Jaden Daniels. You get 3 votes. I voted Michael Penix number 1. And I definitely would not take him in the first round if I were the Niners. I think somebody else will. But I think it's a bad idea, Steve. Thank you for the comment. Strong disagree. And I would put it in, I'd say it's a bad idea. That's my ranking. That's my bad idea ranking. Albert says Guardians of the Galaxy. Somebody says Robin Hood. Is that where I got DED dead? Men in Tight. Which Robin Hood? Frank says, what about the KC coach Merritt for DC? Interested. I mean, they've got a very tight-knit coaching staff there. So high-level guy, Spagnuolo, you love the idea. It feels a little bit like somebody just beat you, so you're like, oh, maybe this guy that has our number will have some insight for us. So it could just be that. Could just be recon. Oh, Coach Merritt, great to see you. We're honored that you're considering becoming the 49ers defensive coordinator. Now, before we begin this interview, I don't know why John Lynch is Southern in this scenario, but I'm going to go with it. Before we begin this interview, Coach, if you could just, fill this paperwork out and provide us with a game plan from the Super Bowl, we'd appreciate that very much. And maybe if you could make a list of, the 5 ways to attack Brock Purdy, it'll be a little test, a little DC test for you. I mean, could be that. That said, I think he's a legit, he's a real candidate. You go look at his history. He's a real candidate. I saw John tweet, all the Kansas City guys love him. So yeah, intrigued. Definitely intrigued. Brain drain KC. He ain't Spags, but still. There's something to be said for that, right? Could we just try and hurt Kansas City a little bit? Please? God. Mike says Parcells drafted Chad Pennington. Did he? James Chad Pennington was drafted in the 2000 draft, 18th overall by the football Jets, and the head coach was Al Groh, not a Parcells hire. Defensive coordinator in that team, Mike Nolan. So, no, not a Parcells guy. But again, we could make a list. I'm all for it. I'm not anti-list, but I think it's pretty safe to say that the Parcells formula is not a bulletproof formula of how to draft quarterbacks. And people are just talking like now that we've seen Brock Purdy, we've got the answers. It's been in front of us the whole time. A guy that's smart and tough and played a lot of good football in college. How did we not see it before? Okay. Good luck. Good luck, everybody. All right. On that note, that's that for this. The combine schedule. I mentioned it yesterday, but let me pull it back up here. I think we got tight ends and D linemen today, which is interesting because I thought, even though I disagreed yesterday with Larry about drafting a quarterback, I thought he made a compelling point about taking a defensive lineman in the first round. Linebackers and D linemen today, DBs and tight ends on Friday, and quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs on Saturday. And then the big show, the offensive linemen, coming up on Sunday. All right. Hit that like button. YouTubers, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. And yeah, there we go. Thanks for everything. Today on this video, we'll talk to everybody soon.